and achieving their full potential in challenging, engaging, and relevant learning experiences. What is the point of learning material that you can't apply in real life? We don't want kids to just learn information and regurgitate on a test and it's gone the next day. We want learning that sticks, that stays with them, and they can see the relevance of it in their lives now and in the future. So that's part of what we want to be able to formulate for our kids, giving them real world experiences that are based on their learning experiences in classrooms. Secondly, the student experience. Probably my favorite component of these four. When you change classroom environments that are inclusive, that give kids a sense of belonging and connectedness, you improve test scores that way. Because they're going to come into a space where they feel like they belong. They feel like people care about them. They feel like people want to understand what their future might be. And they're engaging them in ways that they have never been engaged before. So that particular area is very, very important to me. Not only for the adults, because we also should have a good experience, but our kids have to have a good experience in the classroom. If they don't, they are not going to perform, and the learning that we try to convey to them is not going to stick. Communications, promoting a school community culture that allows all involved to have a voice in the learning forward. That starts tonight. There are some things that have existed for years that we know we need to confront, and we're going to get to those things. We also have to understand from a communication standpoint, we're going to talk about the good news as well. Because Montgomery's doing already doing some wonderful things. How do we tell that good news while building on the obstacles that are in front of us? In addition to that, we've got to be able to be aspirational about what the future holds. And the things we do today aren't necessarily going to change the long-term prognosis of what we want to get done. They look very different in 5 years. So we want to think about that as we go into the future. In terms of finances, it kind of speaks for itself. Obviously, the money drives what we can do in classrooms and in schools. But the equitable distribution of those resources through our instructional programs is what will support our mission in the best way. Meaning all kids, no matter what school, no matter what neighborhood, no matter what family, no matter where they're coming from, will have an opportunity based on what we put in place, supported by finances. We have to be very equitable about how we distribute those. So we based the R.I.S.E plan on 4 unique pillars. First of all, review. Obviously, we have a lot of data to comb through, a lot of history to go through, a lot of conversations about what was, so we can get an idea of what we want to build on. Reviewing all that information to see what's going to be most effective going forward. Identifying opportunities to improve. There will be vast numbers of those. We know that. We understand that. But we also need to identify our strengths. There are things that we do well, and we want to build on those things. You'll hear us say in many regards, there's no such, maybe I can't step right there. There's no such thing as a perfect school district, but we always want to aim to be one. We always want to chase that constantly. Finally, strategizing. How we align all of our resources, how we put all of our people together in the right places, putting the right people in the right seats on the right buses. How do we strategize where our classroom environments, what they look like, how we strategize a long-term plan for our construction in our buildings and for instructional programs and what have you. All those things involve strategy. We can't just put Band-Aids on problems and expect that to solve everything that happens. It has to be something that's going to be long-term and lasting. And Band-Aid fixes don't work. And finally, engaging, which brings us here tonight. Getting an opportunity to engage with our community, where they are, in their neighborhoods and in the community, so they understand, one, that you have to be part of what we do. First, you're welcome to be part of what we do, but you're a necessity to that process. We can't do all these things by ourselves as a school district. We need our community to support us. Strong schools mean strong communities, and vice versa. And if we're working together on the benefit of our kids, all of us, for the right reasons, and for all kids, we're going to be successful. So there's 6 goals associated with the R.I.S.E plan. First of all, every student will be academically successful, prepared for life, work, and college. Does that mean every student's going to go to college? No, it does not. And it doesn't mean every kid has to go to college. And we should celebrate those kids too, because they are going to go on and achieve great things. There are jobs that exist in America that need them to fill them. Well, they were making a whole lot more money than I did my first year. Much more. So why do we not celebrate those opportunities as well? Prepare kids for things they want to do. And the key to that is finding out the things they like. And for me, more importantly, the things they don't like. And how can we drive them to what they want to do as far as their aspirations. Not the aspirations we have for them, but the aspirations they have for themselves. Goal 2, we'll partner with families in the community in the education of our youth. That means everyone in the room, everyone in the community has to be part of making this a success. We need to do it very differently than perhaps school districts have done in the past. We know post-COVID, there are new ways to engage families. You don't have to go to the PTA meeting or parents' conference at the school anymore. We can do that on Zoom, we can engage that way. But also, as a school district, are we taking things out into the community so that there are places where you might be comfortable, where other families might be comfortable, where it's more convenient for them to get to, so they can actually engage in that way. You don't always have to come to the schoolhouse for that. Chad, I thought you were looking out for me tonight. Okay, I'm gonna put on my phone. Unfortunately, that means I gotta put my glasses too. Goal 3. We'll recruit, develop, support, and retain a staff that meets the needs of every student. Everyone has heard of the teacher shortage. Yes, we are dealing with that. But there are shortages in every industry in America, in every school district in America, so we are not unique in that regard. But how do we uniquely and creatively recruit staff to come with APS? How do we hang on to staff who are currently here and celebrate their successes? How do we cultivate our own? This is conversations we've had with Trenton State and with UAM. How do we go about holding, and ASU for that matter, how do we go about identifying our own kids who might be future teachers? So I've told our university partners, yes, their seniors are graduating and going into education. Yes, we want to get access to them to interview. But it's more important for me to see their sophomores and their juniors in the education programs, so we can cultivate partnerships with them now and get them involved in the district with partners and mentors now. So then when they finish, they come to work for us. But I also want to look at kids that we have in our classrooms right now. 7th, 8th grade, as early as that, who may be interested in education. How do we give them resources and support now to begin cultivating their future careers? And finding business partners to come to the table, helping them to finance their college educations. And then they come back to us for a 3 to 5 year commitment, at least, which would allow them to be part of our family going forward, and they can give back to their community as well. Goal number 4. We will provide optimal and equitable learning environments. We talked about that earlier. Yes, we have inequities we need to confront, and we need to be honest and open about those. Those are real things, and we can't sugarcoat them or hide them. We have to be very honest about it. How do we confront those things? How do we allow you to be part of that process, to have conversations productively about how we can tackle those things? Because bottom line for me is I want every kid to have every opportunity and all the access possible for them to be successful. I don't care where they're from. I don't care what school they're in. And if those inequities are impediments to them accessing those opportunities, that's on us to fix that. Goal 5, we promote efforts to enable students to be healthy and ready to learn. We know if our kids aren't healthy and aren't feeling well and aren't in good mental spaces, they're not going to perform academically. So we want to pour in resources to our schools to allow kids to have that type of access as well. We want to make sure we're supporting them to be healthy, have healthy lifestyles, helping them to make better choices. Got me back? Thank you. Helping them to make better choices, helping them to be people who understand that not only are they students here today, but they're citizens, not only for Montgomery, but for the world when they finish. So what types of tools, what types of skills, what types of competencies are they going to have by the time they walk across our stages at graduation? And then finally, Mr. Watts will be glad to see this. We'll be efficient, effective, and transparent in our business operations. We need to talk about the programs we have and the resources that we have and how we're utilizing them. Where are the finances going? Are we trying to get as much money into the classrooms as possible? Is there ways of spending in certain areas? If there is, we need to take a look at that. Are there programs that are repetitive and we're duplicative and they're doing the same things? Those are things we can trim away. So those are all the things we want to talk about in terms of what transparency looks like in that regard, and understanding that efficiency and effectiveness have to drive what we do from a business perspective. Jason laughing at me because I have the clicker over here. I think that's my last slide. I firmly believe that we're working together, if we're collaborative, if we're communicative, if we help each other, and we cooperate, we come to the table learning to agree to disagree, and to disagree agreeably, we can solve anything. We can find any problem, any obstacle, any impediment, and we can overcome that if we do it together. But everyone has to understand that this can't be done by the school district alone. It requires a community force. It requires everybody to understand their role, to understand that one, you're part of the equation to make this successful. You're welcome to the table to lend your perspective and helping us move where we want to go as a school district. So tonight I truly want you to think aspirationally about what we want to be as MPS. So to be honest with you, I wouldn't have come here if I didn't want to do some incredible things. We have an opportunity to do so much because there's so much potential here. If we just align our resources and our people to do things in the right way, we could be amazing. I want to be the best school in Alabama. That's one of my lower goals. I want to be number one. But I also want to be known in the national landscape about what's happening in education. Because the things we do here, if we can turn whatever we have in front of us, if we can turn it, that's amazing work. That's breakthrough work. That's recognizable work. And nationally, we can have that type of reputation. There's no reason we can't. We have all the resources we need. We have the people we need. All we can do is align those resources and people to do the right things for kids. And having our community support us. Having such a supportive community already in place helps us to do those things. So I don't really like to lose. I have this little thing I used to say back home in Virginia, like if we're racing cockroaches, I want mine to win. So I'm a little bit competitive. My friends, yes, I'm moving here from Ohio, so I'll put this little bug in there. When playoff time comes, we'll fight a little bit about what my Buckeyes will end up doing.
That's right. O-State, that's right.
Oh wait, we'll talk about that later, but I'm competitive, and I want us to be number one. I don't like being mediocre. I don't like being ordinary. Our kids aren't mediocre, and they're not ordinary, so why shouldn't we be as a school district? So tonight, I really hope that you'll think about what the future can hold, what you want for a future. How do you want this to look? What things do you want to have? Yes, there may be something that needs to be changed tomorrow, like a bus schedule is an issue. But for this venue, we want to talk about what the future is going to hold and how we compare apart what that looks like. Because I tell you, change in an organization of this nature is not something that happens overnight. We're talking about at least a 3 to 5 year process to make this what we want it to be. I say that for 2 reasons. One, because we have to be patient in this work and knowing that everything can't be done tomorrow. But also to commit to you that I want to be here. I told our board I want this to be my last job. And I'm not that old. I'm not quite that old. This is the last thing I want to do. And if we're able to do this, it's going to take the time to make it happen. I want to be committed to that. I want our kids and our community and our families to understand that we're in this together. And we rise together. And when we fall or stumble, we support each other. Will there be mistakes? Absolutely. But we learn from those mistakes. We learn from those opportunities to improve. Mistakes help us grow. We talk a lot in the district about being comfortable, being uncomfortable. That means we need to have conversations that don't necessarily make us feel good. That's reality. If you're going to improve and change something, you have to feel a little bit uncomfortable. I talk about the fact that when snakes shed their skin, they go to a stage where they're very vulnerable, they're prone to being to predators, they're weak. But once they get that skin off, they really do that thing. I look like a cat that time, didn't I? Once they get that off, that was for you. Once they get that off, then they're stronger, they're bigger, they're faster, they're more efficient, they're more effective. That's how you grow. You have to be uncomfortable in order to grow. And I need for us to understand that. So there will be tough conversations, there'll be tough times. But we can get through those things together if we work together to support each other. So when I'm having those bad days in my office, I'm looking for Ms. Wilson, and Dr. Williamson, and Ms. Gillis, and Mr. Watt, who else is here? To pick me up. Because I can't do it by myself, and they can't do it by themselves. And you're going to have bad days, and we want to be there as a school district, not only for your kids, but for you too. That's how we get better together. So think aspirationally tonight. Become the future town halls, bring those aspirational questions and ideas. Because that's how we're going to build this. That's how we end up getting better. Ms. Jones?
All right, thank you, Dr. Brown. So now we will open the floor for questions. Please raise your hand if you have a question or comment, and I will come to you with the microphone. I'll start on this side. Questions, comments?
That's a good meeting.
I'll be ready.
I'm excited.
My question is, has there ever been any thought, I don't know if you're aware of this, we used to have junior highs in high school, and then they shifted it to putting ninth graders in high school and putting the sixth graders in the middle school. Has there been any discussion to swap it back? I know they talk about credits, but when you're talking about the age of kids, some of the things that are shifting and changing in those spaces and the size of the buildings, on top of it, has there been any thought about just kind of looking at that again and reconsidering that conversation?
We haven't had that conversation to that degree about changing grade levels, but I know we have some conversations about ninth grade academies. Just to give an illustration of my own experience, my former district, we implemented a ninth grade academy my second year there, and it gave our freshmen an opportunity to have a graduate release in middle school. Of course, in middle school, got teams, got all the support around kids, and then after you finish middle school, you say, okay, then go into the high school and do well by yourself. So that academy gave them a chance to have a graduate release from middle school because it looked a lot like middle school with some resources that were close. So we'll look at, we're more than willing to look at venues that may be creative and different than what it may have been done in the past, and maybe some things that have been done in the past that would be effective. But we haven't had that formal discussion yet.
Any more questions on this side? Oh, great.
Dr. Brown, you and I spoke at the retirement reception, and you said, let's do it. And I brought to you the challenge to start the loving community to character movement. I'm curious about your involvement in Ohio with the community of respect and responsibility movement. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. One of the things we initiated in my former district is we created what we called a portrait of a graduate. That was something that was done with staff, it was done with community, parents, kids. They were all done these committees to come up with these competencies that basically drove what we wanted kids to look like when they went across the stage of graduation, and it had nothing to do with academics, although it did. So we're talking about being a critical thinker, being a global citizen, being collaborative. Those types of things are tenets that we want to be able to identify that we want kids to have. So from a community standpoint, and in terms of providing that kind of support, we look forward to doing something similar here and pulling all of our folks together to talk about what things we want our kids to have. When citizenship is an issue, there we go. When citizenship is an issue, and we know it is, if our kids don't understand that their actions impact other people, then we're missing something. Because for every action is an equal and opposite reaction. If our kids are doing things and not understanding that when they disrupt something, they obviously mess it up for themselves. They mess it up for everyone else as well. So from a citizenship standpoint, we're looking forward to partnering with you to talk about what those things should look like and letting our kids be part of that conversation as well, so they understand they'll have some things that they may want to be when they get older and being part of that conversation. So those are committees that will be coming up. There's so many things I want to do, like yesterday, and I can't pull the trigger on all of them at the same time because it's impossible to do. But certainly, how we identify character traits in our kids and cultivate those traits in our kids is important. So we want to see that happen.
Are you open to partnership?
Oh, absolutely. Every single one. Any partnership, any and every partnership can come to the table. Absolutely. We'll be reaching out to partners, business community-wise, civic community, organization-wise, so everybody's part of this conversation. Absolutely, we need partnerships.
Okay, we got a question right here. And Dr. Brown, when they ask the question, we're going to have you to repeat it so
Sure.
everyone can hear. I know the air conditioner is on, so I don't want to turn that on. So we'll try to repeat the question so everyone can hear, okay?
Good evening, Dr. Brown. One thing I wanted to ask is you spoke about relationships with post-secondary institutions, and I was going to ask what initiatives or directives have been discussed or begun discussions on with different institutions. I know you mentioned, I was going to say institutions in general in the Montgomery area here.
Talk about partnerships with our post-secondary partners. We talked about a couple of things from CTE perspective, so college career preparation. What do those relationships look like? Trenton State is right there beside Impact, our career tech building. how do we have those partnerships cultivated so kids can access not only the programs that are at Trinity State, but also build on those programs so they can get associate's degrees when they walk across our stages. I have a goal, a dream of mine, and we'll talk about this later on in the spring when we start to formulate a strategic plan, that every student who comes across our stage has at least one dual enrollment, AP or IB class in his or her repertoire, at least one, just to give an idea. But those partnerships are important. And then not only do we take those career tech programs at impact and give kids access by partnering with Trinity State, but how do we look at all the 16 career clusters, pour those into all of our buildings, so every school has some type of program or some type of pathway that kids can access. That can do a number of things for our district in a number of different ways to change the culture, but also understand that all of our schools are important. We've also talked a lot about dual enrollment. I want kids to access dual enrollment, and we're willing to pay for those courses. Obviously, everyone knows the kids are in dual enrollment courses, we're already paying for them, but I don't think enough kids take advantage of that for a number of reasons. I don't think we encourage enough of them. That needs to happen. But I also think we need to make sure our kids understand that they're capable of doing those things. We need to build that confidence in them. I foresee in my former district, it was about the fourth of the size of this, we had about 500 or so graduates each year. We would have 25 kids per year at least walking across the stage with a high school diploma and an associate's degree at the same time. We do the same thing here. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, we're gonna move over to this side. Do we have questions on this side? Okay.
First, let me say welcome to Montgomery. Alabama has recently, I don't know if it's recently, has shown an increase in the number of students with special education needs, and you're aware of that. Particularly those with intellectual disabilities and those with mental health issues. My question to you is, beyond the 6 goals you've outlined, what have been some of your successes and interventions working with this population in terms of giving them the state focus that you articulated for our general population?
Thanks. First, I'll talk with students on IEPs to start with. When a student is on an IEP, it's not supposed to be a life sentence. The idea is to give them support, give them opportunities for success so that they can grow out of it. But if they don't, we need to make sure we have a parachute business to help them be supported. So we were talking earlier today about Project Search. I'm sure many people might be familiar with that. But that's a program that will allow kids who have significant special needs to go into the work environment and get workplace experience at the same time they're in schools with us. So that when they graduate, they already have workplace placements done. So we have to look at that very differently. The idea is not to grow the numbers of students in IEPs unless it's necessary. If it's absolutely necessary, then surely we should be implementing those and following all those modifications and accommodations. But it should be a life sentence. If we're able to get kids off of IEPs because they know they feel supported and they're having success, then that's the goal. So we want to make sure those kids are just as important as everyone else. I don't see differences in terms of what I mentioned this earlier. I'm really sincere about all kids. I want every kid to be successful, no matter his or her background and his or her difficulties. So our job is to be able to support them in that regard. So that's an important population among our students. And if we're not doing that in new and creative ways, we can't be able to take them where we want them to go.
Do we have any other questions on this side? No? Well, Dr. Brown, yep.
Yeah, one. Next one, I'm going to let you know.
Quick question. You were hired in July. What is your comprehensive plan right now for, you talked about community partnerships, and I understand you need time to, but seriously, what is your plan as far as dealing with the very wide gap in our community with magnet programs and traditional schools, and on top of that, there's a policy that's about to come down through the pipes from the Alabama legislator on the correlation between CCR and the grade point averages of our students. We are having some serious issues as far as the disparity, the difference is the wide gap of 4.0, but you can't get but a 12 on the ACT. So as well as, I know you have wonderful ideas, but I want to know right now, what is your plan to deal with what's happening in our Title I schools as far as academic confidence, academic self-esteem, and supporting principals and giving them some leeway as far as their schools are concerned? Have you gotten that plan, or is that still?
Don't have a comprehensive plan yet because I've only been here 6 weeks. But that's part of what these meetings are about. So let's talk about, you mentioned, you talked about career preparation and GPAs. So college career readiness. We have internal barriers that we created that prevent kids to access certain programs and opportunities, and it's our job to tear those barriers down. I've identified some of them as we have as a team, but are we prepared to tell you like all of those right now? Say this is what we're doing. I'm not in it. This is why we had this
I was
conversation.
asking you about as far as your schools are concerned. So you got Title I schools, I think you over there asked about, the whole set of our system. I know you're very well aware that the data shows that magnet schools, the way we are operating in Montgomery, is antiquated and it doesn't work. And I've been in education for 20 years. We've seen the slippery slope academically as it relates to pull out the top 20%. Now with charter schools, you're seeing an exodus of the next 20%. I understand you've been here for 6 weeks, but we know it's been coming for a while. So I'm just trying to.
Oh, I get that. I understand. You're anxious,
I'm just
and I am
trying
too.
to.
I
I'm
get
not
that.
anxious. I've been in the fight for a minute. I'm just trying to figure out what are you willing, what can you address right now? We've been seeing a lot of things in our community, and as you know, I love your initiative with the football games. I really do. However, there are some little things that go along with that hand in hand that need to be addressed during the school day before we talk about after school. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I'm just trying
Principals
to
have autonomy in schools to do things that are going to be necessary for their kids to be successful, whatever those things might be. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I have this huge comprehensive plan about how we're going to knock out all these things, because I don't. We're not at that stage yet. But I will say that the conversation about what our schools look like and the split between if you're a magnet school or traditional school, what have you, what that basically means to me is we need to make sure we resource our traditional schools to be just as good. So if I have great schools across the board, and they all have resources and opportunities for kids to be successful, then it shouldn't matter which one you go to. It should be about what are you interested in? What things do you want to do, not only in school, but at the school? If we resource our schools in that way, many of those problems, in my opinion, would end up going away. Now, is that going to take a whole lot of work? Because we're talking about 40 years of implementation. Can I make that go away in 6 weeks? Absolutely not. But that's going to take the community talking, having tough conversations, us making tough decisions, perhaps not making everybody happy in some regard. And let me dispel a rumor that I've heard a number of times about me wanting to get rid of magnet schools. I have never ever said that in my entire life. That is not a fact. Make sure y'all get that. I never said that. I want all of our schools to be effective. I want all of our schools to be something someone wants to go to. I want them all to have programs that attract kids. That's how we should resource our schools. And it shouldn't be about magnet versus traditional or what have you. It should be one school district. That's what I want to say. Yes, sir.
First of all, let me say welcome. Welcome to Montgomery. And I've read your plan, and it looks good on paper. But let me ask you the question that I cannot get a superintendent. I've been in this city for 31 years. I don't really care as a parent, and I do have a child in public school. I don't really care about a parent about your business dealings, about which building is, who stole some money. I'll leave that up to you guys. That's your job. But let me tell you what does irritate me. The word discipline, for some reason, escapes the conversation every time we talk about public schools. My son tells me the hell he has to go through in the classroom with the noise, the chaos, and it ain't just this year, it was last year. Why can't we use that word discipline in our classrooms?
Let's use it. Let's talk about this. Yes, we can do things in our schools to make them as preventative as possible and address issues as they arise, and we can create structures that allow kids to be successful no matter what the venue is, but we can't do that by ourselves. We didn't create situations where kids can come to school and just fight. I mean, I don't remember a classroom I walked into where we just said, oh yeah, go ahead. So that takes all of us doing that.
But you control the environment.
As just a community. As a parent, you control expectations for your son.
Well,
Am I correct?
But when you come to school, You got that thing called local parentis in lieu of the parent.
Yes,
In lieu
absolutely.
of the parent.
And we implement strategies and we implement policy to address some of that. That's fine, that's okay, that's fine, but it takes parents also being parents. And we're working together to make that happen. I'll give you an instance. I have 3 kids who already graduated from high school and college.
I got one.
Never had a single issue. Why? Because we were doing some things for the parents to make them successful. And if parents need resources to help them be successful, we want to help do that too.
Well, let me ask you, you guys got a dress code in the public schools. Rarely is it enforced. You got a dress code, so you must
Well, I don't
wear a
think
belt.
that's true.
Well, I go to school every day.
So do I.
No, but they say you got to have a belt in your pants, you got to have your shirt in your pants, and it's never done when I go to school except my son.
Okay. Have you talked about that with your school principal?
Sure. And you know what he tells me?
No.
Well, he says, because these kids come from the community. But so do they come from the community that value the cross. So do they come from the community.
That I don't disagree with. I agree with you about that.
Okay,
In that
sorry.
respect. I agree with you. I mean, I think you want the same things I do, and it's not an excuse.
So
We have to
let's
do it
get-
together. It's
let's
not an
get it on
excuse.
your tongue.
I'm sorry?
Let's get them there.
What do you mean, let's go?
Let's get to the point where we have discipline in that class and get
I
rid of the
mean,
problem.
we certainly are sitting back watching those things happen and not doing anything about it. But it takes all of us doing that. If we implement policy and enforce policy, we can
But
go
you
to
don't
the
enforce it.
So that's not true.
Some
That's not true.
teachers tell me that by the time they get back to the classroom, the kid they took to the principal is back sitting down.
Understood. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I understand. Yes,
We'll
ma'am.
go to the next question.
How much you bring money up?
In your goals, you talked about students, promoting healthy students so that way you're able to children to learn. I know that there are school-based clinics that have been. So what, are we going to still use that as an avenue, or do you have other plans to help our children to become healthy? Because I do know they do not go to the doctor, and that could possibly be a very big issue for our children.
We just met late last week with one of our organizations who wants to continue to not only put in place the clinics they currently have, but expand them. They're now mobile available. There's mobile availability, so we'll be expanding on those. We want to make sure all kids get. Yes, health, just medical health is important. So it's vision, hearing, dental. We want to be able to provide all those types of resources, and so we're working with our partners to try to get as much of that in place as possible.
Any other questions? Okay. Over here, okay. Getting all my steps in today. Okay.
I was the same school drug-free coordinator for Lawrence County. About my many responsibilities, and I'm still on all these federal lists for safe school grants and this type of thing. What is the school system doing seeking additional resources for safe schools and connected subjects?
Sure. I mean, before I got here, we were already looking at the safe schools grants, and the district has already been doing things with the federal government and reps getting funds to support those types of things. We'll continue that. We'll expand on it as possible. But we want, I mean, dollars are available. We want to get them available to our kids in the formative classroom. So those are things we definitely want to continue to consider. Don't send it all to me. Our student services department does a lot in that regard, and so there's tons of resources available from their department, but we want to continue to expand.
Dr. Brown, we have another question right here.
Do you have any plans for holding parents accountable for their children's actions at the school?
Holding parents accountable for their children. Oh, okay, you got it.
Yeah. Do I have plans for that? I don't. However, as we partner together and we understand everybody's responsibility, we're hoping that that's going to be accountability within itself. Being honest about issues we need to confront. If there are discipline issues that need to be confronted, we do it collaboratively with parents. Because this is an opportunity, it's not an opportunity to punish parents. That's not what this is about. It's about getting everybody around students so they can be more successful while getting kids to understand their consequences for actions. So we don't have plans to, punish parents by any regard, but we want to partner with parents to make sure we can do what's right for kids.
I'm going to grab this question right here in the back.
Yes, I'd like to know, are they going to do anything about the buses? The bus system is if it's too many kids on the buses?
I can't answer that question, because I mean, the bus transportation routes were done before I got here, but that's something we'll continue to look at and revise as necessary. When we see issues that need to be confronted, or issues that are brought to our attention, we address those, or at least try to address them. But understanding there are a couple of things that play a role in that. There's a shortage of bus drivers also, so that impacts the numbers of routes you can run and how effective it can be. But there are opportunities to improve, there will be, and we'll try to attack those as well as we possibly can.
We have another question here in the back, Dr. Brown.
Hello, Dr. Brown. My name is Ms. Robinson. I'm an educator here, I'm an educator in Montgomery schools. I know we're talking about college career and making sure the students are ready for college. What about before they go to college? Preparing them for a skill, cosmetology, barbering, bringing those.
Well, we reference some of that when we're talking about career. That's exactly what we're talking about. Our CTE programs, how we expand those, how we can make improved use and greater use of impact and spread programs throughout our entire district. Those are things we're already talking about. So I was talking earlier today about the culinary program in Parkland. How many of you know there's a culinary program in Parkland? I see maybe 10 hands. It's a fantastic program, but we don't even talk about it. We don't talk about it. We don't do kids to actually come to those things.
The reason I was asking, because I'm a cosmetologist, and that's what I did in school. And it motivated me to want to come to school every day, to be a part of the system. And then that was, when I graduated, I went straight to Patterson, and I only had to go there for 6 months. And then I went straight into the career. Been doing it for 40 years.
And some of those programs already exist, and we just want to expand on those a bit more. So that'll focus from Max Rowing here with us. We want to talk about aviation and opportunities for kids to get involved in those venues. The sky's the limit as far as what we can do. We just need to make sure we know what our students' interests are, partner with community partners who can help us get those things done, and all of that can come to fruition.
I have a question. I'm gonna grab this one here because I haven't really been on this side. Oh, sorry, I'm on gut.
I just want to know, will you be visiting the student service? For example, I had to get my son's address verified to enroll him into school, but it was just so hard to actually get in contact with someone.
Okay.
It was a 3-week process. I had to reach out to the member on the board in District 2 in order to even get someone to call me back.
Well, as you have struggles with that, make sure we want to make sure we get the right use in the right place to be able to answer those questions. But that's reference to registration. Something we talked about, we'd like to see come to fruition is a central registration office where you don't have to go to your schools to do individual registrations for kids. You go to one place and you do it all there. So that's something that we're talking about for potential implementation next year.
Okay, I'll come back here.
My comment earlier was speaking about opportunities after school, so this topic is about opportunities during school. One of the most frustrating things that I've dealt with a child going to JD, another child graduating JD, is this current year, the registration process as it relates to being able to get a student into an honors class or an AP class. When we have students who want to do better and have a family behind them that is pushing them to do better, while there are hurdles that they have to clear that are not being communicated to the family. We get 3,000 calls every week that are robocalls. How do we clear that up and create an opportunity for those students who want to do better, allow them to succeed?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna have you recap.
I can't disagree with you. His question was about motivating kids to get into upper level courses because we know they're capable. That's part of what I'm referencing earlier. I completely agree with you. If you have impediments in getting that done as a parent, we gotta do something different. To me, that's not acceptable. If your child is interested in an AP geography course and it's taught and you can put it in the schedule, why doesn't they give you access to it? That should not be that should be a fight. That should be like welcome to something. But it also asks for a mindset. So we got to raise expectations of all kids so that everybody, our kids understand we believe in them. We're not discouraging them from doing certain things, and we want to encourage them to take those classes. So there are some mindset changes and some attitudes that have to adjust in that regard. Because I'll go out on a limb and say that there are some low expectations for some of our kids. We got to get rid of that. I expect our kids to do fantastic, wonderful things because that's what they're capable of. But if we're not communicating that to kids, if we're not instilling that in kids, we're never going to get to those expectations. So I completely agree with you. Those things we need, that shouldn't happen.
Another question here in the back.
Let me say this. I really am excited about you. I don't think you should go for your judgment. I don't. I think you should give you time to get in there and get your feet wet. But I come to the town hall meetings, I even come to some school board meetings. What I'm really curious about now is kind of threefold. Number one, is someone taking down the information in this town hall? Okay. Number two, what was your prior understanding of Montgomery County Schools? What was the understanding you were given? And number three, when you decided to do outreach to the community, based upon town hall meetings, as I look around the room, I see a lot of elected officials, I see a lot of teachers. Montgomery County represents about 30,000 children. How many we got at JD? Maybe, I'm a low ball, 1,200. When you were trying to come up with ways to reach out to the community, your people around you, what are they telling you about our schools? I know we can prop our, you won't get tired, we can prop our magnets up real good. Well, however, because here we are at more town halls, and the town halls in the past, a lot of times you're dealing with the fact that the community has lost complete trust in our educational process. You can look at our voter turnout while these elected officials right in here. And our voter turnout for this to be Montgomery, the birthplace of the civil rights, is extremely low. And you are going to need our help and our support. But the problem is when you reach out like this, most people don't reach back. And I do get you've been here for 6 weeks, but at $255,000, sir, I want to see some results. And the reason why, because you're coming from Ohio, I'm from Chicago, so I get it. But I'm trying to figure out what was this plan and how was it established that this would be a good way for you to get a good understanding. Because a lot of times we think we come here and it's really a dog and pony show. Because when we leave up out of here, most parents are still frustrated, they're still irritated because we have some stuff that's going underneath and all your business partnerships and all that. We have an esteem problem. We have a lack of support problem, and it cannot continue to be danced over. And now, my good buddy, Mr. Watts, the teachers made it possible that the ad valorem happened, and if we want more money, you won't reach back out to the teachers. I'm trying to figure out, and I don't mean to ask you your comprehensive plan, I think that might be, but I'm talking about what is a grassroots program to build confidence in the public and support these Title I schools that need much more than just community partnership. Boots on it. I love what they're doing at Lee High School. The community is coming into Lee because Lee was on the verge of being a hotbed. I taught at Lee. I was part of the reconstruction at Lee. I also know how bureaucracy can tear down perfect situations. So my thing is, maybe not a comprehensive plan because you've been here 6 weeks. What is your real plan to build confidence in MPS with the community? And since our mayor is our wonderful mayor, how are you going to reach out and use city resources that the city says they are willing to give? If you could possibly give me an understanding on that, maybe not the rest of the stuff, but what is your comprehensive community action plan, aside from town hall meetings, to rectify this stuff? Because now I work at the Department of Youth Services, and I think in the last couple of days we got several APS students. That's the juvenile facility for males out at Mount Mead. You have a behavior problem, Mr. Elkins left, but with your discipline, I was just talking to somebody. The people are not supported. You got some policies that need to be done over, and a lot of times discipline is not happening at the school because y'all roll this stuff out, but there's no backup for it. So principals are left out there, there's teachers out there, and then you got a real hotbed when you still in the city, and the mayor's office, they don't really, this is a county system. So I know I said a lot.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure out what you got going on right now.
Okay, the mayor and I have talked numbers of times about things we want to do partner, as far as what that looks like. So resources are available. They want to assist in their partner force as well. As far as how we, you have a number of things that I wish I could have taken notes in my head. My salary is irrelevant, in my opinion, but I'll put that out there in regard to that. But how we build what we're doing, it is to me. But how we build what we're doing has a lot to do with what everybody's willing to bring to the table and do. We certainly can't do it by ourselves, and we've said that numbers of times. So we're talking about 30 years, at least, of things that haven't been done and haven't been put under the carpet. I'm sorry?
I said I've been teaching 23.
Okay. Okay. But I know there's systemic things that have been in place for numbers of years. So you're asking the things that have been told me. That's what I've heard, that's what I've seen, that's what I've read, that's what I've researched. So I knew those things existed. You don't change systemic things in a matter of weeks. It takes time. It took 30 years to get where we are. We certainly can't turn it in 8 years. So I'm looking at, we're talking about what a comprehensive plan looks like. That's why everybody's in this room to start with. How we're reaching out to the community in different ways. This is just one video. This is one example of what that looks like. I'm willing to go anywhere to talk to anybody about anything. But as long as we're actually doing it in a positive way and understanding that we're looking at improvement, but not sitting back to admire problems. That's not a fun vocation for me. I don't like to look at a problem and just admire it. Let's do something about it. And let's not all point fingers about who's supposed to do it. We have to do it together. So I understand where you're coming from, and I understand that there are a lot of systemic things that need to be addressed. Can we identify all those right now? I have a handful in my head right now, but there are more things that we need to address. And that takes everybody to do that.
All right, I have one more question.
Good afternoon. I am a two-part person almost, and it's pertaining to, as you know, we realize we do need more parents accountable and things like this. My concern is this, and I want the mayor to listen to this also. You want to talk about this. As you know, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 8% of our students are bused to school every day. So their afternoon programs are lacking because our students don't have transportation to back to Campbell before we day go to school, but we're really not able to go to school. I'm wondering if it's possible for us to create some kind of bus line for our students in the afternoon that from between 6 to 7 that will run to their neighborhood and drop them off.
It's a good thought. I think it's something we should think about. It's a good idea. I don't know how we can put it in place and what that looks like, but I think it's something we should talk about. Or at least. Sure, I completely agree.
And people take more pride in sports, but there's other things.
Absolutely. And we need more after-school activities that aren't necessarily sports.
Any other questions?
Hey, I'm Jamal with Guntown Magazine, and we're going live. And one of our viewers asked a question about mentoring programs in the schools.
We need more. We have some that exist, but we always need mentors to come in and work with kids individually. If I could put a kid with one adult at all times, that would be wonderful. I would love to have that. So those are things we need to continue to build. We certainly aren't where we need to be in that regard. We have some that exist, but we certainly need more.
Okay. We're winding down to an hour, so we'll wrap this question here, maybe a few more.
I just want to ask, as we're trying to be positive and move forward, what are going to be the best ways to continue the conversation in order to get that information to you? Because a lot of people, since I moved back to town, complain about people coming here one time and they never listen again. Mm-hmm. Or you have those same people that keep talking and talking and talking, and there's no room for anybody else to get a word in. Mm-hmm. So what is a mechanism for parents, teachers, and the community to continue the conversation and continue to get information to you without the red tape?
Sure. There'll obviously be 5 more town halls that take place, but there's also the superintendent email address at superintendent@mps.k12.al.us. If you reach out to my office, my information is on the website, and in many cases I may not be able to answer your question, but I can certainly get you to where it needs to be. My assistant is fantastic and knows pretty much the entire district as far as where to direct issues that need to be confronted. And we try to solve issues at the lowest level possible to avoid that red tape.
Any other questions? We have time for one or two. All right, Dr. Brown, I think you can wrap us up here. First of all, again, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I think we had a great conversation, one that will continue to go on. Certainly, like Dr. Brown said, we can't do it by ourselves. So to see this room full, I'm looking forward to the next town hall meeting and other opportunities to engage because we are MPS together. So Dr. Brown?
I'll just say one thing really quick. I appreciate your passion. I know that you want to see things done differently and you want to see things grow and expand and change and improve. And I completely understand and agree with that. And I'm on board for that. But I do understand also that when you're dealing with systemic things that have taken place, they don't just disappear on the brink of an eye. It takes time. And we need a galvanizing force of people to help support those types of things. Some of those things may be politically involved. I don't know. But we need to be able to address those. But we also need to have conversations that are honest and open, and sometimes they're going to be uncomfortable. Just like some of y'all may be uncomfortable now. But that's just a matter of basically having those conversations and making people understand that they do have a voice. It's important you have a voice. We're not only going to improve if those voices are heard, and those voices need to be raised in ways that they can be heard, so we can have conversation. So I'm looking forward to much more of that. I'm also looking forward to a positive future. I see so much potential in this community, and I'm excited about that every single day. So I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I appreciate your involvement and your connection, and we look forward to the next one of these that takes place. Thank you so much.
All right, Town, there you have it, the MPS Town Hall. This is the first of many. Make sure you stay engaged. Make sure you share this video with your family and friends. Town, we be everywhere.